Hello world, welcome back to the Simple Sports Podcast. It is I, Capo, and week 3 is in the books. And let's talk about it. Week 3, honestly, it burned all the hair on my nose. I don't know about you guys, but I watched a few quarterbacks absolutely stink it up. Just stinking up the place. Mariota stunk it up. Case Keenum and Trubisky just took dumps all over the field last night. Baker was stinking it up some too. It was a rough week for my Titans, losing to the infamous Minshew. Vrabel stunk it up with his coaching. The offense stunk it up. Oh, my goodness. But I did get to watch the Chiefs and the Ravens battle it out, though it wasn't as close as the score says. Of course, I was impressed with Mahomes and the Chiefs. And, yes, I was impressed with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Also impressed with Daniel Jones, but I'll hold judgment until I see more. Let's not get carried away, folks, okay? For one, they beat Tampa, who in all honesty are just as bad as the Giants. Not to mention all the missed field goals that they had, including the potential game winner. They were eating Janoris Jenkins alive all day long. Unfortunately, for the Bucks, they have more kicker problems. So, not going to read too much into Daniel Jones in his debut. Although, like I said, for what he did, for who he played, and given the circumstances, no Odell, obviously traded away. Saquon Barkley out with the injury. So far, so good. And as I said before, a couple of episodes ago, I think Big Ben is done for good, at least with the Steelers. But right behind him may be Cam Newton. If Kyle Allen, if the one we saw yesterday or Sunday was more, if there's more to that, if that was more than just first start luck, Cam Newton might be well on his way to another team as well, or out the league, depending on how that goes. But I need to start in the land, Cleveland, with the Browns versus the Rams on Monday Night Football. So we're going to start right there. All right, so a couple of things. First, they need to blow up the commentator booth, okay? Not literally, of course. Though if you ask Twitter during the Monday night games, they would say otherwise. But it's unbearable. I'd rather watch it with no sound. It's not that those guys don't know football. Clearly they do. Of course they do. It's the delivery, man. It's just painful. It's boring. It's overly excited about things you don't need to be overly excited about. It's like trying to force excitement rather than just sort of calling the game, letting it come to them, over-explaining things. Booger McFarland is just, he reminds me of like John Madden, who just points out the most simpler things. And listen, you love the people that they are. I like Booger McFarland. He occasionally appears in the First Take. Obviously played the game. I like him, but as far as a commentator, it's not working. But that said, let's move to the game. So here's the thing. If you had asked me before the season what the Browns' record would be through the first 3 games, I would have said 1-2. And I would have told you they would have lost to the Titans, probably pretty big. They beat the Jets. Jets aren't very good. And then they play right alongside the Rams, but eventually lose the game. And that's exactly what has happened. No surprises there, right? But what concerns me is how they got from point A to point B. It's not been pretty. It's not been pretty at all. Their offensive line is disgustingly bad. Aaron Donald was in the backfield all night long. He and Dante Fowler had Baker seeing ghosts in the pocket, so much so that he bailed quite a few times when he really didn't need to. Pocket was still pretty clean. He could have made, stepped up at least, if not rolled outside. But whatever. Listen, they've not been great at running the football. The passing game hasn't worked going down the field at least. Going over the top hasn't been there. The play action isn't working because they can't run the football. And on their straight dropbacks, there's so much pressure so quickly that there's no time for the routes to develop. Odell and Jarvis are still, full sprint in their routes, and the ref is blowing the whistle, calling the play dead after a sack. So, look, they're 1-2 with tough games staring them in the face. And while I thought they would be 1-2, I thought it would look different. They looked like the Browns of last year, a team that you could see clearly had moved forward from being this terrible franchise, a team that had moved forward from winning 1 game in 2 years. But so far, they don't look like a team ready to challenge for the division. Freddie Kitchens needs a wake-up call. There were a lot of questionable calls and questionable decisions in the game. Passing when they should run, running when they should pass. continuing to call these deep, time-consuming routes when clearly the line is not up to par. But the draw on 4th and 9, what in the world was he thinking? Look, if you want to go for it on 4th and 9, hey, whatever, I'm all for it. But 4th and 9, and you run a draw against one of the best teams in football. This isn't the Dolphins, okay? It's the Rams. I don't know if you know this or not, but they were in the Super Bowl last year. They're NFC champs of last year, and they were really good the year before. And not to mention their best defensive lineman has been eating you alive all night long, and you choose to give him a draw play on 4th and 9? I don't know. The Browns have some serious work to do. I believe they can get it rectified, but it's going to take a change in philosophy. It's not just a matter of tweaking a few line items here and there. It has to change from the neck up. And I think it starts with the head coach. And listen, it's his first time. It's his first go-around, so as far as that goes, you have to give him some slack. I mean, it's not like he's done this before. But listen, you work for an owner who has a history of panicking and sort of letting people go maybe a little bit too soon. So we'll see. But what I do know is they can't continue to just try and do what they've been doing. It's not working. They can't protect Baker. The play calling has been suspect, to say the least. Things have got to change, and we'll see if they can get it tweaked and in a hurry. Because, again, the upcoming schedule is not easy. So, until then, I'm moving on. Man, I've had it with the Titans. I've had it with Marcus Mariota. I've had it with Titans fans. Listen, everybody. I'm fully aware of his situation, okay? The offensive line has played like doo-doo. The play calling has been mediocre. Art Smith is the OC now. Now it's like the 15th OC that Mariota's had. The turnover of staff has been ungodly, and with all the head coaches and coordinators that he's gone through. And I said this last episode, but every quarterback misses throws. Every quarterback misreads coverages. Obviously, the better ones do it less than others. But everyone does it. No quarterback is perfect. No quarterback makes every throw. No quarterback reads every coverage correctly. No quarterback misses a blitz pickup or a line shift or an audible. Or they don't, like they all do. They're human. But yet and still, Mariota has to be better. Too many bunnies that he missed. Too many layups. Too many times running himself into sacks. Too many times unable to convert easy throw. He missed a wide open touchdown. I think it was to Delaney Walker late in the game, Thursday night. Too many times unable to convert easy throws for first downs and touchdowns. It's just too many of the wrong things going wrong for Mariota. Listen, there are clearly other aspects of this team that need work. For one, Adoree Jackson has to stop returning punts. He's muffed them too many times, and at key situations in the game, often leading to touchdowns for the other team. He did it in the playoff game, I believe it was, against the Chiefs, right before they actually did end up pulling the comeback off. It looked like he had just given them their way out by fumbling the muffing the punt. He did it against the Jaguars on Thursday night, and the very next play, 7 points. I think it was inside the 10 or 15, certainly in the red zone. He muffed the punt. You just can't do that. You can't do that. You have a great defense, and you just can't give the other team easy chances to convert points like that, especially when you're on the road. You just can't do that. And you're going against a backup quarterback, a team who is all but given up until Gardner Minshew came along. You know, they're having locker room issues, players speaking out, and all of that stuff. And you can't do that. He's got to. It's time. I think it's time to get ready to move on. Coming into the year, I was ready to wait it out, but listen. And who am I? I'm just some fan, right? But my patience is run thin. I've got no more. I am going to absolutely cheer for him every single Sunday, but I've accepted the fact that he's just not very good. The line absolutely has to be better. Last year against the Ravens, they gave up 11 sacks in a game this year against the Jaguars, they gave up 8 in the game. You're not going to win like that. Not only is it going to cost you the game, it's going to cost you long term. Marcus Mariota is not 6'5", 240. Okay, he's going to get hit enough just in the general flow of the game. You can't afford to give up 8 sacks in one game. There are guys who haven't been sacked 8 times the entire year. But despite all of that, Marcus Mariota has to be better. He just has to. It's year 5, and he was a number 2 overall pick at quarterback. He's got to be better. It is now or never. And until we see better, I'm moving on. Hey, you want to talk about 2 quarterbacks who absolutely stunk up the joint? Look no further than Monday Night Football with Case Keenum and Mitch Trubisky, because it was puke-worthy. I had the Bears defense in one of my DraftKings tournaments, and I was down like 10 or 12 points still left in the third quarter. And I still thought I had a chance because I had the Bears defense. Because Case Keenum is going to throw another pick six, probably fumble it a couple of times, another couple of sacks, and I'd be right back in it. Now listen, Khalil Mack would do that to you. He's a beast, but he was bad last night. Case Keenum was terrible. The picks he threw were terrible. He missed one throw that was behind Richardson, and that was picked. Overthrows Quinn for the other. I think it was Quinn on the crossing route, or I think it was like a post route off of play action, and he overthrows that. That leads to the pick six. Basically hands the ball to Khalil Mack on the strip sack. Listen, some people are still drinking the Kool-Aid from Case Keenum's Viking days. I don't get it at all. Yes, for Case Keenum, he had a really, really good year, but I don't know if you saw him last year or the year before he was in Minnesota, but he was not good. He was not good. I have to guess he's starting simply because Haskins isn't ready to start. I don't know why you wouldn't start him. Most guys are throwing their guys into the fire, which I'm not always in agreement with. I would probably agree here as well. Haskins hasn't played a ton of football in his entire college and NFL career. Obviously hasn't played any in the NFL. Only started 1 year with the Buckeyes. So if that's the case, then that's fine. Just as long as they know Case Keenum isn't the long-term answer, and I'm sure they do. But he was just so bad last night. It was barely watchable. I'm shocked that we didn't see Haskins last night because it was ugly, and it got ugly quickly. The pick six, strip sack. There were a couple of different picks. There were a couple of opportunities for other turnovers. Khalil Mack stripped him one other time, but he was able to recover it. So listen, he was terrible. And here's the thing. The little fake comeback that they had towards the end of the game, that means nothing to me. Absolutely nothing. You want to know why? Because his counterpart, Mitchell Trubisky, was just as bad as he was. And thank God he has some favorable weapons on his side because he was terrible. He was just as bad as Case Keenum is. The difference is he has an excellent defense backing him up, and they won the game. His first throw was in the dirt, if not for Allen Robinson digging it out for him. And they were digging him out all night long. Trubisky was missing. Balls high, balls wide, overthrown, underthrown, into the stands, into the dirt, throwing it too hard to a guy that's 4 yards away from him. It was just a mess. He threw Josh Norman into a pass interference because the throw was so bad. It was so high and behind Montgomery, I think it was, on a slant route. They had the perfect play called against man coverage. They had cleared everyone out to the right side, had Montgomery coming back underneath. It might have been an angle route. I don't remember exactly what the route was. But he had him open. And if not a touchdown, it's certainly a big gain. And he throws it behind. And fortunately for him, Norman was in tight coverage and sort of just ran into him because the throw was so bad. The pick he threw to Norman towards the end of the game was just disgusting. It's a fade route, and he throws it flat. It's an easy pick for Josh Norman. Basically throws it to him. I don't know how can he throw that ball that flat on the fade to the end zone? That's elementary. Hello, Earth to Mitchell Trubisky. I can see that from my couch. So my question is, did he not see it? Or was it that bad of a throw? Don't answer. Because neither answer is a good one. I'm moving on. Capo, to the rest of the NFL world, if you are selling your New Orleans Saints stock, please bring it to me. I will gladly take it, okay? This team is good. This team is really good. And you had them go on the road earlier this year against the Rams, lose their starting quarterback against the defending NFC champs with basically no backup plan for that moment. Obviously, no one really has no one's prepared per se for that moment. It's just, it happens and you either live up to it or you don't. So did I expect them to lose against the Rams once Brees went down? Of course I did. But people act as if the Saints are just devoid of talent, as if they aren't a good team, as if Drew Brees just carries them through to win after win. And listen, Drew Brees does a lot for the team, but make no mistake about it, this is a very talented football team. Now listen, they're not going to win without Drew Brees long term, but absolutely Bridgewater can hold his water through a few games. No pun intended. They were in the playoffs the last 2 years, and they lost because of the Minnesota Miracle and the blind referee. Otherwise, they would have at minimum went to the NFC Championship game the year the Minnesota Miracle happened, and they would have gone to the Super Bowl last year if not for the referee. Now, listen, they probably still should have because of the things that preceded in that game, but up to that point, they absolutely should have won that football game if not for that call or non-call. So this isn't some bum team. I don't understand what people's thoughts are on just bailing on the Saints early in the year. They have talent all over the place and a backup in Bridgewater who is more than capable. And oh, by the way, Sean Payton is still the coach. And oh, by the way, the Panthers and the Bucks and the Falcons are all in their division. And you know what all three of those teams have in common right now? They all stink. So even if they are unable to land a 1 or 2 top seed, as long as the wheels don't fall off for the Saints before Drew Brees returns, they will compete for and probably win the division yet again. So I'm not sure why people hate on the Saints. I'm no Saints fan, of course, but I try to be objective about everyone. And the hate for the Saints, I just don't get. They have a top 5 running back. They have a top 5 quarterback. They have a top 5 wide receiver, a top 5 head coach, and a top 15-ish defense. That's enough. That's more than enough. That's more than most of the league that's competing. So again, this all hinges on them, staying 500 or so or better until Drew Brees can come back. So we'll see how things shake out in the next couple of weeks. They get a win over the Seahawks, who are a very good team. But until then, I'm moving on. So a little bit of a shaky start for the Cowboys against the Dolphins in the first half. But then, the Dolphins did Dolphin-like things, and the Cowboys eventually covered the spread. I've not moved off my Cowboys and specifically Dak Prescott position. They've done exactly what they needed to do against the teams that they have faced so far. And I believe as the season goes on, they will regress back to the pack a little bit. Their schedule has been cupcake soft thus far. So, again, aside from the acknowledgement that they've done what they needed to do, I really can't make anything of it. So, if you look at the Cowboys and then you look at a team like the New England Patriots, right? Class of the league, and much like Dallas so far this year has played a pretty soft schedule. The difference for me is threefold, and it's the basics of every Super Bowl winning team for the most part. Coach, quarterback, and defense. And across the board, the New England Patriots win that battle. Tom Brady is the best and most trusted quarterback in football. And as much as I love Mahomes, if you told me aliens were coming down to invade the earth, but you got to have one quarterback right now to win a football game in order for it to not happen, yeah, give me Tom Brady over anybody in the league. Mahomes will be second, actually probably third behind a healthy Drew Brees. But for right now, give me Brady. And if you look at their coaching situation, it's not close. Jason Garrett is just some guy clapping his hands on the sideline. He appears to be a great leader, well respected in the locker room, as far as I can tell. But I'm not sure how good of a football coach he is. On the flip side, Bill Belichick is the best coach in football, bar none. It's not comparable. And so far this year, he has the Patriots defense playing the best football, statistically anyway. Again, given the competition, of course. But statistically, they're one of the best, if not the single best defense in all of football. And then the defense. The Cowboys defense is pretty good, close to great. I don't know if they are. I think last year they were a top 5 defense. They're more like top 10 this year. They've taken a little bit of a step back, but again, some of this has to do with who they're playing, so it's kind of hard to tell. But the Patriots defense has been phenomenal, and if you go back to last year, it's even more impressive. They shut down the Chargers in the playoffs, who, again, now for me, wasn't a surprise because I didn't think the Chargers were that good, but for a lot of people, that was a surprise. They shut down the Ravens for at least a half of football before absolutely choking the Rams out in the Super Bowl. So, again, this year, the competition has certainly been less than. So, it's kind of hard to say. But still, not giving up a single touchdown through 3 weeks is astonishing. So, defense, again, not comparable. And then, listen, the bottom line is the Cowboys have some work to do before I start to believe that they are ready to compete for a Super Bowl. If you look at the coach, quarterback, and defense of those two teams in similar situations, and as far as playing a softer schedule, it's not close. There's only one thing they're excellent at, and it's running the football. They're pretty good on defense, and I'm coming around on the quarterback day by day. But the coach is suspect, and compared to Coach Belichick, it's certainly not close. And until all 3 of those are done and done at an extremely high level, the Cowboys won't be winning any Super Bowls. Sorry, Cowboys fans, but they just won't. We'll see them return to reality over the next few weeks as the schedule starts to toughen up. But until then, I'm moving on. Patrick Mahomes versus Deshaun Jackson was honestly kind of underwhelming. I thought it might be game of the year in week 3, but it wasn't as close as the score makes it seem. If you didn't catch the game, I wasn't less impressed with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. I didn't expect them to win. And quite frankly, it's no crime giving up points to this Chiefs defense. Everyone has, and everyone will continue to give up points, to the Chiefs offense. So there's no shame in it. Here's the thing. There's no Tyreek Hill, no Williams at running back, and the defense that is absolutely Swiss cheese. And going against one of the best defenses in football, no problem. Mahomes is unreal. He's on pace for over 6,000 passing yards on the season. And honestly, I hesitate to say that's not going to happen. I doubt it will. That's a lot of yards. 5,000 is a lot of yards. At least I thought so. And then he obliterated that in his first go at it last year, along with 50 touchdowns. So if this year he threw 60 touchdowns, I wouldn't be shocked. If he threw for over 6,000 yards, yes, 6,000 passing yards, I can't say that I'd be shocked. He's the best quarterback in football going forward, and it's not even remotely close. Considering Tom Brady won't play for another 10 years, no other young quarterback would I take over him, not for a second. And quite frankly, behind Brady and Brees, I have him third right now. I trust those two more just, because of the mature skill set as far as managing the game from top to bottom, the experience. But after those two, give me Patrick Mahomes any day of the week. He lit up the Ravens defense, which obviously is one of the best defenses in football. He did it like it was just some ho-hum defense. So, listen, guys, if you aren't watching, you're doing yourself a disservice, okay? And what's crazy is he's leaving plays on the field. He can be even better. He's missing some throws. He threw the no-look pass in week 1, which should have just been a flat, easy touchdown. So he's missing throws. He can get even better than he already is. It's incredible to watch, and I just hope he stays healthy his whole career because Andy Reid is bringing out the best in him as well. And I hope he gets a defense that can stop more than a nosebleed because they won't be beating the Baltimore Ravens or the New England Patriots in the playoffs with that defense playing like that. Lamar Jackson with his growth, I think if they got them in a similar situation to last year, the outcome would be different or certainly much closer. Especially if they got to go on the road. If they somehow end up having to go to Baltimore or having to go to New England, those two teams and their coaching staffs are not dummies, and they will beat you to death physically by running the football and keeping Mahomes on the sideline. So we'll see if the defense can improve to be at least a middle-of-the-road defense. That's really all they need. Again, so far it's looked like more of the same. So, and that's it. That'll do it for this episode, guys. It's been a fun one. Week 4 coming up soon. Thursday Night Football. We got the Packers and the Eagles. I'll give you my thoughts on that tomorrow, along with a few other things I want to talk about further heading into next week. The power rankings will be up probably Tuesday morning of next week, a week from today. After all the week 4 games are done and over with, I'll be tweaking it all throughout the weekend as the games take place. I've already made some adjustments, but I'm going to make the final adjustments after the first quarter of the week is in the books. So stay tuned for that. Until next time, peace.